All right, say hello. You're live on camera, Dora.
Welcome back to my world.
Number 2, baby. How are you?
Awesome.
Thank you for coming back on perfect timing as we go live. So let's stop for a second.
We're making sure everybody's ready.
Yeah, we are making sure. And I think we're going to pretty good. So Dora, second time on the show. For those of you that are watching and maybe didn't see a year ago, this is Dora Puig. She is probably in the top 30 in the entire country of real estate brokers. Number 1 in Dade County, three years in a row. I think you're number 4 in the state of Florida.
This year I was number 4 in the state of Florida, and I was 34 in the country.
Okay.
Last year I was 19 in the country, and 1 in Florida, and 1 in Dade County, and the year before I was 6 in the country. That was my big.
So let me put this into perspective for the viewers. I had on last week Margie Grant, and Margie Grant is the CEO of Florida Realtors, which I still call Florida Association of Realtors.
Okay.
Far, right? So now it's FR, whatever it is. So I go, Margie, how many realtors are there in the state of Florida that are licensed as realtors, not just licensed salespeople? I think it was 186 or 187,000. And you're number 4. Last year you were number 1 out of 187,000.
High five it.
High five.
High five it for Dade County,
That's
for Miami.
right. That's right. All right, so let's get into it. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Alex Vidal. I am president of Related ISG International Realty and host of the show you're watching today, episode number 81 of the Closer Club. I'm not even sure if it was called the Closer Club when we met. I think it was Inquiring Minds back then. I changed it in January or February. And we were sitting with Dora Puig, and we already kind of went over her resume. If you missed the first episode that we did in October of last year, let me just recap some of the things that we went over then, because this interview is completely different. If you didn't catch it, we covered her path to success, what keeps her motivated, her breakthrough moment in her career, what the wealthy think of Miami, the market, tips on becoming a woman power player. We did a lightning round. There was a lot more tidbits in there. And today we're going to dig deep, not only on sales, tech, and luxury real estate. So tune in, completely different interview. Go to my YouTube channel, TheCloserClub.com, and you'll see Dora's first interview there. You ready, Dora?
I'm ready to go.
Let's do it. 15, 20 minutes. Here we go. So let's talk about high end. Because I think the biggest question I get in my brokerage is, Alex, how do I break into the high end? So a lot of realtors want to play in this space. What advice can you give our viewers on what they can do to break into the high end?
Well, first of all, I think you need to be smart. And you need to understand world politics, as nasty as it gets, but understand it. Understand tax law, because it affects these high net worth individuals. I think you also need to understand the financial markets, so you know which way the money's flowing.
Okay.
And the other thing I tell my agents is get involved, network, go to events in the local communities that are targeted towards these clients. Go to homeowners association meetings, little town hall meetings. You'll start to meet owners and people who live in the community, and they start to get to know you. So that's one of the things I tell them to network and get out there.
So network in the communities or the events where these people hang out, number 1. And then once they're in front of you, be smart about what you're talking about, politics, finances, etc.
You have to, because on the high end, it's affecting these high net individuals and the way they think and their method of purchasing.
Sure.
So you have to understand where they're coming from and what they're doing with their money.
Sure. Now let me ask you, so I've kind of realized this with the interview, so maybe I want to see if you agree with me or not, because I've had some very wealthy people on the show as well. What I really realize is they're no different than anybody else. Yeah, they have a lot of money, and maybe they think differently, but they're just regular people, right? Do you experience that?
100%. You have to also be very comfortable with wealth, which I am. I'm well traveled, and I went to fabulous education, and I speak several languages, so I'm very comfortable being around international people and wealth. And I think that's
You know what I love about that? I love that. We're Miami, filming from Miami Beach on a new $15 million listing. Kind of turn the camera around. There are private helicopters flying over us all the time. This is Miami, baby. Right now in Colorado, they have 2 to 3 feet of snow, and we're sitting in 80-degree weather outside on the deck of a.
This is exactly what Miami will always survive.
That's right. That's right. You can't buy this anywhere else. It's amazing, especially with the tax climate. All right, let's talk tech. Because right now my hot button is tech, because everybody's scared of it, whether they want to admit it or not. And I am thrilled by it because I know we can kick its ass. So let's talk about tech for a little bit. How do you think tech will have an impact on the luxury market? And where do you see our industry as agents in the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, the first part of that. I think tech is the whole future of the luxury market. As the baby boomers get older, who are the ones that are starting to get to know Facebook, and they're not very techy, and they maybe have an email, and they maybe know how to text. As they get older and younger people, the younger generations get into 40s and 50s, technology is going to be the only way to search for probably. I think what everyone's talking about, Alexa and Redfin and Zillow and Trulia taking over the world, I don't believe that's going to take over the luxury market. I think there are certain segments of the marketplace where it will dominate, but I think in the north of $5 million market, at least in Miami, these people are going to want advice, experienced advice, well-versed advice before they make their purchase.
What market?
So I would use it as a tool.
What segment of the market do you think it'll affect?
I think it'll affect the $200,000 to the $1 million market.
Got it, and that's awesome.
In Miami.
And I agree with you. But I think there are ways to beat it. And I think whether you're selling a $5 million house or a $200,000 house, the same principles can be applied. And my next few questions are going to talk about that. So, well, let's before we get there, 5 to 10 years. What does our industry look like?
I think our industry, I think print advertising, although I do a lot of print and direct mail still, because I think it's a necessary evil due to the baby boomers and the different generations who are selling. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to be all digital marketing. We have a strong digital team in 2 of our offices, and we focus a lot on it. So I think print will slowly phase away. And I think video is going to be the only way to showcase homes. We're about to do a video on my new listing right now.
That's right, they're filming in the background.
Yes.
Here's my opinion about video, and I agree with you 100%. I think that, so my audience is realtors, right? You're my audience, and obviously, actually, your audience is realtors too, right?
100%. It just had 60 of them
come through. One of your largest. So, and you look at it, and you're like, okay, what's the if there's 65,000 realtors in Dade and Broward County, that's my main audience for right now. Until we go national, and then we're there, right?
You are national. You're international. You just don't know.
Maybe, who knows? I don't know. Well, that's the goal. But let's say at least related ISG right now is Dade and Broward County with plans to go bigger. But you look at it, it's how do you get in front of 65,000 realtors? You have to go to the sandbox that they play in. And the sandbox that they play in is social media. All right, so now I'm in the sandbox with all these kids, and we're playing. What are we playing? What's the toy that everybody's using? And it's video. So you are so spot on with video. It's not even fun.
We use video. We use virtual tours. We do a lot of still photography. We put our press and editorial coverage. I get a lot of press. We feature that as well. We're on 8 different platforms, and our YouTube channel is all full of virtual tours and very professional videos. And the other thing we do is we're very good about balancing our social media with not only real estate. We talk about lifestyle. We talk about new restaurants in Miami. Everything is focused on Miami because I am an ambassador of Miami. And then we list or showcase 2 to 3 listings a week. We never pass 2 to 3 because we don't want people to get tired of just real estate content. So I think managing your content is one of the most important things right now. And that's where I see mistakes in social media.
And you do a great job of that. Because I follow you, obviously, and you have a great balance of not only personal and maybe you're celebrating somebody's birthday on a boat, as much as you're at a friend's restaurant opening to, a $15 million house.
I was forced to put in more of my personal life by my social media consultant, who was 20 years younger than me, because she said, you've become a name in the industry and people want to see what you're doing as well. Plus, I live on the Venetian Islands. My lifestyle is beautiful. So we showcase it a little bit here and there when it's interesting.
Well, I met once with a company because I was trying to figure all this out myself, and here's a little tidbit that I'm going to be covering with my agents in a few weeks. And they talked about what are your 4 pillars. If you look at a chair's got 4 legs. What are your 4 pillars? If somebody were to describe 4 things about you via your social media, what would it be? And I said, that's a great way to look at it. It's like, okay, I'm the president of the company. I host the Closer Club. I'm an athlete. I work out all the time, and I have a family.
I see your athlete and family posts, and I think they're fantastic.
Awesome.
I think it humanizes the whole social media experience, and I think people want to get to know the face and the person behind the message.
That's right.
So I think the message gets stronger.
I always joke, if I put a picture of my wife and I in a bathing suit, it gets 10 times the like of a photo, maybe.
Well, because it's 6-pack heaven between you and your wife. I've seen it.
More like my wife than me, but we're there. All right, so let's talk about beating tech, because I really do feel that there are 3 ways that you can beat the technology. So let's talk about that. Number 1, I think that the more time you spend in front of a customer versus pushing paperwork around, you're going to be able to build that relationship and really be able to have somebody trust you and like you more than the tech that they're seeing on Zillow or Trulia or Redfin or whatever. So what systems do you have in place to spend as much time as possible in front of clients?
That's a great question, especially for all you young realtors, especially if you want to break into the luxury market. because the luxury market has a personal touch to it. You need to be accessible to your sellers and your buyers. Anyone purchasing from you north of $3-4 million wants to talk to you when they want to speak to you. And if you don't answer them within an hour, there's another realtor that will answer them within a minute.
Sure.
So being accessible on your phone, we start group chats with all of our clients, and anybody who's pertinent to that listing or to that purchaser is on that group chat. We're live. I've got people in London, New York, Miami. We're constantly in communication. We feed them all of the marketing that we're doing for the property, and we keep them posted. They love it.
Got it.
It's either by group chats and text or group chats and WhatsApp, and that's really become one of our best communication sources for staying in front of my clients, especially the ones that are not in town.
Sure.
So they hear from you constantly. The other way is I am all meat and potatoes. I take my clients out to dinner. I still socialize with them. I still interact with them because I get referred a lot.
Sure.
So I'm a referred broker, so I still do that.
What percent of your time do you spend in front of a client?
I would say 30 to 40% of my week, I try to be in front of my clients.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about market knowledge. We kind of referred to it earlier. I think that once you're in front of the client, you need to know what you're talking about. You talked about politics,
100%.
financial markets, etc. What do you do to keep educating yourself about what's happening in the market, what's happening politically, what's happening financially? What are your go-to mediums to educate yourself?
Okay, well in the morning, my husband and I read The Economist.
Okay.
And when I was
Online or the hard copy?
The hard copy, I get it at home, old school.
Okay.
And I had a finance professor in my graduate program at DC who told me this is the best publication to understand world economics and what's happening in the world, and I still read it. The articles are very easy to read, they're not that long. So you get in touch with it. As much as I detest politics, I have to stay in touch with it a little bit because of tax reform, because of all different sorts of laws that could affect your purchasers buying in your market.
Sure.
So I think you have to understand local politics and national and international politics,
especially international down here.
especially in a city like Miami. Understanding the currency markets, how the dollar's too strong right now, so therefore all the international markets are not really strong in purchasing in Miami right now. The tax reform, that's where the American market is strong here. Purchasing to become primary residents. So I read that in the morning. We read that almost every day or every other day. We're on social media a little bit.
Okay. Now we're gonna save social media, so I'm gonna go to social media.
I learn a lot from social media.
Okay.
I mean, we're on it. I spend a little bit of percentage of my day going through social media and interacting with other people that I respect and that I like their content because I learn. I was looking at Bloomberg's comments yesterday. Okay. And I was actually sent him a question.
Okay. Did he answer?
Not yet.
You may have to send it like 50 times before they do. That's how I get. That's how I get people for the show. It's like boom, boom, boom.
Yes, and then another thing we do. I have a great team behind me that we make sure we're online with alerts on any new houses or condominiums in the areas I farm coming on the market. Anything that's gone pending, closed, expired. We get daily alerts, and I try my best to stay on it. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming because it's a lot, but the alerts are very important for the inventory, and that keeps you smart because that makes you understand what's in the market. Going to open houses, nothing like doing the work. You have to go to open houses and learn your market, learn your competition, understand the finishes in the neighboring house, so you can sell against it. And understanding your closed sales and the current year, I would say the past year's sales, wherever it is you're selling.
Yeah. So MLS alerts, social media, and The Economist.
The Economist helps me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. You're the first out of 81 episodes. You're the first one to mention The Economist. So
I learned to read it in graduate schools.
Where'd you go to school again?
I graduated from George Washington University.
So Veronica Escobedo, who's the chief marketing officer for ISG, my parent company, her daughter is starting her freshman year at George Washington now.
Awesome. So Washington's an awesome place for school.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah, and I actually had her on because she was so impressive as a teenager and what she was going through as a teenager and all that. We actually had her on the Closer Club. I loved it. It was one of my favorite episodes, actually. So
I don't mind your favorite.
So,
Mine's your favorite.
Okay, so there's this thing called primacy effect. And somebody asked me the other day, what's your favorite episode? And I said, and I kind of mentioned some of the most recent ones. They're like, well, the problem is you have primacy. She's a judge. You only remember the most recent events. And it's like through 81, it's hard. But you're right. There's a reason why you're on the second time.
You look like you're having fun.
So I'm having a lot of fun. I love this stuff. And I love it.
I tell my team all the time, we're not having fun, we're not doing it.
Yeah, that's
so fun is important.
Tell me about it. Number one rule. Using social media and the power of video to get in front of in front of the masses to create likability and trust. How has social media contributed to your business?
I was one of the first real estate brokers to use social media actively. We've been doing social media for about 10 years, and it's helped incredibly. All of my followers and my likes are all organic. Don't go out and buy 50,000 Indian buyers, followers, and 25,000 Brazilian ones. You want it to grow organically, and you want it to be your target market or your audience that works with you. And I'm a big believer in letting it grow organically. I think it's quality versus quantity. So I'm not a fashion influencer that needs a million. I need more quality followers so I can stay targeted.
That's right. Well, it's funny, you see somebody's got like 50,000 followers, but they have 10 likes on their photo. I mean, that's a hello.
And they had 1,000 yesterday, and today they have 46,000.
Correct.
It makes no sense.
There you go.
So I think quality over quantity. I think balancing your social media content is very important. We are using a lot of video. We're using Instagram TV now. Both we're posting in our stories and our feeds. And again, balancing it where it's 2-3 times a week. This week we blitzed it because we had a progressive open house on the Venetian Islands with 3 new listings on the water.
Signs were everywhere as I was driving through.
So we do a combination of e-campaign and a lot of social media for 4 or 5 days prior to it. We make sure we're listed on all the online sites that feature open houses, from Trulia to Realtor.com, obviously with Matrix, so you appear on everybody's hot sheet and you get syndicated out. So you want to be digitally online with your open houses as much as you can to get good traffic. So we do a good job with that.
And I love, you mentioned something that you talked about broker opens and how important it is to go to broker opens.
Yes.
A few years ago, if you asked me that question, I used to say it's the biggest waste of time. Agents just do it for the sellers to make it like all these brokers go through. Now, knowing that you need to know your market so much more than the AI that's out there, I'm actually a huge fan of broker opens. Go and educate yourself.
You have to. If you've seen it, you can sell it.
There you go. Oh, I like that. See, you can sell. Okay, let's talk buyers and sellers. As the saying goes with sellers, listing agents are lasting agents. So what are some techniques on securing listings on your own terms? Because you're at a stage in your life and in your business that you're not taking listings to just get them. You're securing them on the way that you want to get them. So what are some techniques you can show?
I'm hopefully securing listings to sell them, not to have listings.
Yeah.
So the idea of having 20 listings and not selling them gets you nowhere. All it does is burn you out, and you spin your wheels and work and work and work. And the secret to selling your listings is pricing. Pricing is key, and we are doing a ton of work on ourselves with our comparative market analysis. We go deep in MLS, we go into tax rolls, and then we've developed a new way to do our CMAs, which are competitive market analysis, where we're doing bar charts and pie charts to give the seller a snapshot of the market. For example, in 2018 and 2019, what sold, what hasn't sold. We publish the level of discount in the negotiation to give them a percentage. So the market right now is between 18 and 22% discount.
Wow.
And it's showing both in condos and in single family, luxury, on the beach.
And by luxury, defining what, 5 million and up?
I would say 3 million and up. 3 million and up. We're doing these snapshot bar charts for our sellers. They're loving it. The other thing is when we go on listing presentations, I get called a lot on the high-end stuff because of my track record.
Sure.
And I think you need to have a track record to be called for a listing appointment north of $10 million, for example.
Absolutely.
But I think you need to prepare your listing presentation to look very professional. And our listing presentation is composed of 3 different sections. One is a hardbound book, which the girls in my office call it my brag book.
Got it.
But it's pretty much my credibility book for a new client that doesn't know me.
Okay.
And we'll have my Wall Street Journal rankings in there. We'll have editorial coverage, our property lounges where we work out of, my team, our bios. So we share with the new seller a little bit about who we are. Then the second part of the listing presentation that we do is we provide samples of our print media, our direct mail, and we actually print a lot of our electronic media so that they can see what we do. We have a page for all our social media, we give them samples of our e-campaigns, and then we'll send it all electronically as well.
Got it.
So once I get through that, then I go into the financial part, which is the numbers. And I recommend pricing based on a very deep competitive market analysis, and I also give them the bar charts. Right now we're doing our comps for all 2018 and 2019 because the market changed a lot. So I'm showing them this is what happened last year, this is what's happening this year. We're closing out in a month. This is where you need to be priced and why. By the time I get to the part 3 of my listing presentation, I think we've done a pretty good job of convincing them that we're the right team.
Sure.
I introduce them to my team. Sometimes I bring my team members with me. Their bios are in there. All the top brokers have great people working with them.
Well, I love the brag book, and I think for there may be some agents looking at this saying, well, I'm relatively new, I don't have a brag book. But if your brokerage is a prominent brokerage who does a lot of business, brag about your brokerage, right? And if you have your own business like you do, then you can brag about both. And you own your brokerage, but for those that don't, you can brag. You have your brag book, but also have your company's brag book or your own. You know?
There's ways to build your listing presentation, even if it's a small listing presentation. It's the way you present your market comps, your own bio, samples of your e-campaign, samples of your broker handouts, samples of what you would like to do. Sometimes we take drone shots and aerials of the house that I'm competing for, and we'll already make a mock-up of a direct mail piece or a broker handout for them to show them we're prepared.
Sure.
Because the sellers love to know that you know their home.
There you go. I love it.
There's ways to build it.
Yeah, you're even building that relationship by doing that and making that legwork.
So we have a really great experience with listing presentations, and that's how I've transitioned over to be a listing broker.
So before that you were buyers, right? So let's talk about buyers. The saying goes, buyers are liars. There's a saying for them
yes.
too. What are some of your techniques to earn a buyer's loyalty? Are they similar to the sales side? Is it the brag book and all that? What do you do to get that buyer to work with you?
First of all, I call it meat and potatoes broker because I'm referred all the time. So many times I know who the buyer that is being referred is to me. So I know their background, I know they're real. Obviously that's the goal. Everybody wants to become a referred broker because the quality of your referrals is very high.
Absolutely.
And it's pre-qualified. But if you're picking up a client from the internet, which could waste your time, start by Googling the client at least and try to find out who they are and if they're in town and if they're real. So you don't waste your time. Once you understand who they are, they love the fact that you know who they are.
Sure.
Then I think with buyers, depend on the segment of the marketplace that you're working in. If you're working in north of $5 or north of $10 million, typically they can afford anything they want. I try to stick within the price range of what they requested for me, because I think if they're asking for a $10 million house, you don't need to be showing them a $20 million house. But sometimes I'll stretch the price point a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 properties, because I know they can afford it. Because sometimes you stick to the price point they told you, and they don't find anything, and they get the one call from someone else that said, hey, you need to look at this $15 million house, but he told me he was going to spend 12. And they go and they make an offer and they bought the house for 13.5, and it's happened to me. So buyers are liars. They told me they wouldn't pass 12 million, and yet they turned around and did.
Have you ever had a buyer
So I cover myself.
Do you ever have buyers sign buyer brokerage agreements?
I have never done that. I've never needed to. I have to say I have a very good experience with my buyers. Most of them stay very loyal. If I've lost a buyer, typically it's because I missed something, or it was an off-market deal that someone offered them. Or I didn't go out of the price point.
Now, in terms of, do
do
you show your buyers a brag book as well? Like, hey, this is my experience in the market, so you're working with the best broker down here that knows the market better than anybody, or?
If I don't know the buyer and it's the first time I met them, I usually meet them in my Lincoln Road Property Lounge.
Where we did the first interview.
We did the first interview, and we work paperless there, and it's a lounge. It's sort of a soft sell because we have coffee with them, we have a drink with them, and then I introduce them to my team. And there I may go through some of my track record, some of the marketing, so they can understand. We have a giant video wall where we do everything paperless. So I will pull up comps in the video wall, and we'll go over the marketplace with them, give them a drink, and we have get-to-know sessions.
As we talked off camera, tequila.
We have Tequila Fridays in Lincoln Road.
Tequila Fridays, all right.
I hope you all like Don Julio. That's our favorite.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna have one because we're gonna talk off camera about Facebook. Last question: book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation for the audience?
Okay, I'm a big fan of TED Talks. I've been there several times. There was one TED Talk in 2018 that I still think about. Penny Chisholm, she's a scientist, and there's a little microorganism cell in the center core of the planet that there are billions of them of, and they think it could solve the fossil fuel problem of the world, and they think it could basically give energy to the world.
Really?
Read it. And a book that I'm a big fan of, Ray Dalio's Principles.
Sure.
So I was just fortunate enough to go to his son's wedding and got to know him and read the book.
You know, I never understood about Ray Dalio until he did a podcast on a channel called Value Table with a guy named Patrick McDavid, who has been a guest on the Closer Club last year, November of last year. I'm like, I'm gonna get Ray Dalio on the show, so I'll get there eventually. He's a billionaire, but we'll get there.
He did. He was so interesting the way he spoke about his son. He created a principle of the love between his son and his fiance.
Wow.
So there was an algorithm principle made on love,
Sure.
which is great.
But supposedly the principles is a phenomenon. All right, Dora, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the second time. I'm going to go behind the camera. Any parting words for the audience? I want to kiss goodbye before you go. And any parting words for the audience before I turn off the camera?
You need to come visit me on Venetian Islands.
All right.
Hottest islands on the beach.
There you go.